We're from a big family. When Anthony was born, his parents asked me to be his godmother. And I made a vow that day that I would always look out and take care of him. I never thought I would take care of him in the way that I did, but maybe it was a sign from the beginning. My mother used to bake, and I always liked to bake also, so I started baking with my mother for family weddings. Anthony's favorite cookie, he likes a brownie cup. I cut out a hole in the middle of it and I fill it with icing, and I know those are Anthony's favorite cookies, so whenever we have a wedding or a family event, I always make sure Anthony has a couple of those.
The condition I had, it was called Hay-Nock-Schönlein purpura, which is very common in infants and children. As you get it as an adult, it can affect the kidney, which is exactly what happened to me. Some of the symptoms I experienced at the time were acute arthritis attacks, swelling in my joints. I had a rash all over my body and very bad stomach pain.
I watched him grow up. My children grew up right around the same age. And then I slowly watched Anthony get sicker and sicker and unable to do the things that my children were enjoying and that his other cousins were enjoying because he couldn't. I watched him get very pale. I watched his lack of energy. He just couldn't keep up with the others.
When I found out I had to get a new kidney, my parents were actually with me at the doctor. It's not something we expected to hear at that time. We knew eventually it might have, been coming down the road.
I looked at my cousin that morning and I told her, "Don't worry about it. I will donate my kidney to Anthony." Never did she expect in the weeks to come that would come true.
When I found out Eileen was going to go get tested to donate her kidney, it's very hard to put in perspective when someone says that they want to do something like that for you.
When I told people about being a living donor, I got two completely different reactions. Nobody was middle of the road. They asked me, "Are you crazy? Why would you put your body through this? Why would you do this?" On the other end, a lot of people told me I was a saint, I was an angel, I was wonderful, and I didn't feel that way either because I was having major surgery and I was a little bit anxious about it.
I think the hardest part about this process was just feeling very weak, and it's just very hard not to feel normal when you wake up. I mean, you go from being very active and living your life to kind of sleeping in bed all the time and just being very groggy and not feeling like yourself.
I went for a day of testing at the hospital. I met with my transplant surgeon. He was wonderful. He answered all my questions in depth. He relaxed me. He put my mind at ease. He was very, very confident. I met my transplant coordinator. She coordinated everything. She set up the testing. She was there for me to answer questions. I met with a living donor advocate. They served as an advocate for me. They just worked solely for me. They were there to make sure that all my questions were answered. I did have the ability to back out anytime I wanted to. All Anthony or anybody would be told is I was not deemed a medical match at that time. So there was no pressure on me to do anything because I had started through the process. I didn't feel obligated to the hospital. I didn't feel obligated to my family. I only felt obligated to myself if this was the right thing for me. As we were leading up to the surgery, Anthony was getting sicker and sicker. His color was very poor. He was having trouble going to work.
At the moment I found out I was going to get a transplant, a lot of things start going through your head. You kind of realize that my life's going to go back to normal after this, and you can kind of start doing things you want to do, and you can go back to the way you were, which is, it's very big. It's like getting a second chance at life.
I was in the recovery room. I remember waking up sometime before Anthony came to the recovery room. They moved the gurneys side by side, so I was facing Anthony and he was facing me. Anthony's parents were at his bedside. My husband and my daughter were at my bedside, and we both looked at each other and we were very tired and very uncomfortable, and we just kind of reached out and we high-fived each other. And
when I woke up from my surgery, I actually looked up and Eileen was actually right next to me. The first thing I noticed was how warm my body felt.
Anthony looked over at me and he said, "My hand." He said, "My hand's warm." He says, "I didn't know my hands were cold, but now my hand is warm." So the kidney started working right away.
And that was one of the first things I told her that I noticed was, just my body felt so different, and I felt so much better even right after the surgery. I think every day when I wake up, I'm thankful for Eileen. I take a look, and when I'm getting dressed in the morning, I see my scar, and I have nothing but thanks for Eileen, and she really stepped up and just gave me my life back.
When Anthony asked me what he could do for me, I told him I wanted him to do two things. I wanted him to live a long and healthy life. And since when he was born, I was his godmother. 2 times a year, he would have to call me his fairy godmother.
When we were in the hospital, we actually had a fairy globe presented to her, and I know it's something that she keeps. It's very special to all of us, and it kind of symbolizes what we went through.
After the surgery, people would approach me and say, "You've done so much, you've given so much of yourself." I've never really felt that way. I've always felt like I've received more than I have given. I got to have my family rally around me. I got to have conversations with my husband that I would have never had at this age. I got to see my children come in and take care of me. I got to watch a young man come back to life.
When people see me now, and they take a look at pictures from when I was sick, they can't believe the difference. Now that I'm healthy, I just like to go out and enjoy everything I can.
After I donated my kidney, I feel I can still maintain my same level of energy as I did before. I often bake for family weddings for 12 hours a day. I'll be on my feet baking in the kitchen. I have no problem still doing that. There's always the thought before you donate, what if? But I could not live my life on what ifs. There were too many other things. If I had the opportunity to donate, why not donate and give Anthony a good life and not worry about the what ifs in life that may never happen?
Before surgery, Eileen and I were always very close, but I think after the surgery, our bond became even closer.
After the transplant, Anthony's mother, Maureen, gave me a card as I was recuperating, and she said, "I'm Anthony's mother. I gave him life." But she says, "Now you're Anthony's mother too, because you gave him his life back."